Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships, how to heal from these relationships. And sometimes you're sort of finding yourself in a place with a narcissistic person where they're trying to fix it. Or say they're trying to fix it. Let's talk a little bit about when the narcissistic person is trying to force you into a bit of a peace treaty. Yep, despite all their antagonism, sometimes, they're the ones who are trying to push it. So when outsiders get involved in trying to help you with your narcissistic relationship, it can cause a whole host of new problems. Now, if that's ever happened to you, that other people have intervened in your narcissistic relationship, please drop a comment if this is something you've ever experienced. And while folks are dropping those comments, before we go further, I want to take a quick second, let you know, I am having some in-person events this fall for survivors of narcissistic relationship. One is in London, England. It's in September 5 and September 6. The other is in North Carolina, and that goes from November 1st to the 3rd. Additionally, I'm also going to be having a separate event for therapists and coaches in London, England on September 7th. So more information on all these events can be found in the video description. Obviously, these things feel very different when we're doing it in person, but if you want to check those out, that's where you can find all that information. So let's go back to this peace treaty, right? So outsiders who may get involved in your relationship maybe family members who are trying to make everyone get along. It may be a therapist who's working with a couple or a family. It may be people at work trying to help a team work better or more amicably. But the key element is that there are people who are looking at the situation and wanting it to run more smoothly, because it's probably not. And the people watching it may even have the sense that the narcissistic person in this space is probably the problem, but may shape it as though everyone's a little bit responsible, so that they can just sort of coax the narcissistic people to be willing to play ball. So when these other people get involved, it can be sort of a slight gaslighting vibe to it. For this reason is why couples therapy with a narcissistic person is so difficult for both the therapist and the not narcissistic person in the couple. But sometimes narcissistic people may actually recognize that they're at DEFCON 1. And that this thing is about to blow. So the narcissistic person may attempt to change course. This may happen, for example, if a narcissistic person doesn't want to get divorced. And narcissistic people often don't want to get divorced only for the reason that it would be financially and sort of practically problematic for them. Or the narcissistic person actually thinks that they are not the problem. So for ego reasons, may work to be more amenable, so they aren't seen as the problem, or the narcissistic person may face a consequence like job loss or demotion if they don't step up. So they attempt to play nice, okay? So keep in mind that by the time third parties start intervening on the mess of a narcissistic relationship, or you even notice or say anything, that there has been a lot of water under the bridge, and you have been suffering for a long time, and it won't be a quick fix. This is particularly true if you're coming out of the trauma-bonded haze of the relationship. But there may be that day, especially if there is outside influence, or the narcissistic person doesn't want to deal with the consequences of what losing or ending this relationship means, or they're more of sort of a vulnerable narcissistic person who is rejection or abandonment sensitive, right? The narcissistic person will then quickly try to make various sort of peace offerings. If it's a couple's situation, you may see them sort of making a bid and sort of trying to do the right thing, suggesting a night out, sending you a nice text, folding some laundry, telling you that you look nice. For a moment, you may feel that you are in the new and improved AI version of this relationship, as though they took all of the feedback that you and other people gave them, and that they're trying to sort of implement it. But, wisely so, you are still a little leery. Maybe you aren't ready. You may still be hurt by many other things that have happened, or maybe you have other shit to do. So you don't give them a big, warm, thank you, baby, or notice the laundry right away, or get to the text right away. And then they lose it and they blame you. They'll say, see, I do all the things you want and you don't even notice it. I'm trying to reach out to you and make it better and you don't even care. So when the peacetime agreement, their so-called treaty or armistice, is on their terms, they expect you to drop what you are doing and attend to all these grand things they're doing and thank them and go along with their gestures immediately without question. And very often, almost always, if you don't respond to their little reach outs exactly the way they want, they will tantrum again and you're back to square zero. These little episodes may feel like mini Hoovers, but they are actually usually the narcissistic person trying to pivot the narrative back to where they want it, which is that they are a victim, you don't appreciate them, they were always doing the right thing. It's a lovely work of fiction. Now, in families, this may look like the narcissistic person holding their tongue for once and not saying something, or giving you an apology that feels like, again, written by AI. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that things aren't the way you want, which, by the way, these are not apologies, and may then invite you to something like a family event, for example, that maybe you can't make because you have a life. And then they say, see, you never really cared about family. It's not me. This is all your fault. I should have known you wouldn't come. In the workplace, it can feel even more robotic, where an HR team or an HR manager may let the team know that things aren't running well and that there have been complaints, but the way the HR manager will put it, make it seem like everyone is complicit, and then come up with some kind of lame document about action steps. And the narcissistic person may methodically go through the steps and then expect that everything is normal and everyone will forget what they did. But others may still feel to double check the narcissistic person's work because of the mistakes they've made in the past. And then the narcissistic person may get angry at everyone again because they don't feel trusted. They said, I followed the checklist, I did what I was asked, and now you check it, and that means you're petty. When the narcissistic person wants to engage in their so-called peacekeeping gesture, you have to go along or be told that you're the problem. That's how it's set up. Of course, when you were trying once upon a time to communicate and encourage them to do things in a better way, they weren't having it in the past. And the things they expect you now to notice and congratulate them on, they in essence use them as erasers for the past. They would have never noticed, though, if you did those things like folded that laundry or sent that text. Something the world and the narcissistic people don't understand is that just because they are ready to make it right doesn't mean that other people don't have hurts and wounds that they are still managing. It's as though that once the narcissistic person is ready to move forward, everyone else has to jump on board. And if everyone else doesn't jump on board, the narcissistic person once again falls into the victim role. See, I try, nothing I do matters. I actually do the right thing that you asked for, and you can't even be bothered to respond. And perhaps sometimes you didn't respond to that text right away or that call because you were in the bathroom or in the shower. The dynamic never changes, and the so-called peace offering or treaty is actually quite flimsy and self-serving. It's more about posturing and theater. Look at me, I tried to do the right thing, versus actually empathically doing the right thing. But to the world watching this whole thing play out, the other person in the narcissistic relationship looks like they're being petty, not accepting the narcissistic person's reach out or their attempt to make things better. That kind of thing. Well, if you don't accept the apology, you'll be stuck forever. But this isn't about one gesture of goodwill. A healthy relationship is about an accumulation of doing the right thing, creating safety, and having true empathy. And that isn't happening here. One apology doesn't always make things right. Fixing one thing after months or years of manipulation and meanness isn't going to turn this ship around. Narcissistic people love quick fixes, especially when they want things the way they want them. But life doesn't work that way. And if you are an observer, please see this in a context that a person doing one thing that was asked for is sometimes not enough. It can feel insincere. And it may take a long time for a person who has been deeply hurt in a narcissistic relationship to even begin to trust again. Enough of us who have been through the trauma-bonded, future-faked mess have been through this apology revolving door enough and told that we don't even know how to accept an apology. That's what people will tell you. You don't even know how to accept an apology the right way. And then we fall for it and wonder, are we the problem? But pay attention to this pattern. The flowers, the gifts, the being nice one day, the not hostile or even the actually nice text that we don't receive as though everything is good again. Because it's not that simple. If it were as simple as a text or a morning greeting, if only, but don't get coerced into a false peace just because it is convenient for the narcissistic person. Take your time and keep an eye and watch to see if this new behavior is sustained and that you're not raged at for not seeing that they're trying. Think of all the years that you tried and it was all ignored. Just because they fold a basket of towels and send you a text and tell you look pretty. That's probably not going to be enough to fix it all. But these sort of pseudo peace treaties that they lay out, their proverbial olive branches, as it were, as a way to make things right. When a person is making a peace offering, it doesn't have to be received on their terms. Unfortunately, that's not how narcissistic people like it, but it can leave you feeling confused, as though, well, they are reaching out, and I'm not taking it right away, so maybe I'm the problem. And once again, everything remains on their schedule. And you are viewed as the bad one if you don't accept it. And then, when it goes wrong again, sometimes people will even wonder, well, maybe if you had accepted their apology more readily, it would have worked out. Let's face it, folks, in these relationships, you can't win. Thanks again.